Excused. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for the April regular meeting of the Schenectady County Legislature. Will everyone please rise for the invocation to be delivered by Pastor Dix?
I pray for the agenda set before us today. Please give us assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved county. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. And finally, Father, Renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of the human person. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Legislator Russo. Thank you. We have a couple of presentations to make this evening. First, I would like to invite our District 1 legislators to the well, as well as representatives of the Catholic Central boys basketball team for a presentation.
We won't bite. Don't worry about it. Yeah, if we can just probably hit on the sides.
Yeah, come on, make a U.
Yeah, make a U.
Thank you for coming. Great to see you. What's happening?
So put it up.
Would you guys come back around? Thank you. Nice to see you.
Good evening. Are we on? Can you hear me? Okay. Good evening to everybody. It's an honor for us District 1 legislators to stand here with of the Catholic Central boys basketball team. Resolution. Central boys basketball team have our basketball season 40 years. Basketball that the team has won a regional elected as Colonial Council in Section 2 term. And where Sportsmanship Award Aiden Pruti and Zarul Arroyo, Robertson, Kwame Smith, Nick coaches and community with their coach, Guy DeBacco, and congratulates the team on their highly successful 2023 season and victory in the regional championship. So Coach, I just want to present this to you for the school. I also want to say that it's an honor to be here with these young men. I grew up here in Schenectady. The young men that we're honoring actually live in the neighborhood that I grew up in. I'm very, very proud of the rich heritage that we have in Schenectady as far as basketball. We used to run the region, so to have some of our boys be a part of a team to go farther as far as they went, it's an honor. So I just want to congratulate you all and thank you. And I know we have one for Darian here. Right here. Okay. So thank you guys for coming, and on behalf of my colleagues right here, Richard Paterni and Richard Russo, we are the representatives of District 1. We thank you guys for coming tonight. We thank you for your hard work and your dedication. And next year, we expect you guys to be back here with a state championship. All right? All right. So thank you guys so much. And if we could just stand for a photo. can layer chairs tall in the back, and then
Squeeze in next to me, you can stay tall. I wasn't going to tell.
let's do that. Like that? Everybody be seen? Stand on your tippy toes together. Coach.
Good job. Thank you, and congratulations again, Catholic Central. We have an additional resolution on this evening's agenda honoring April 9th to the 15th as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. This resolution was presented earlier this afternoon at the Schenectady County Unified Communications Center. I'd like to ask Legislator Constantine to read that into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A resolution celebrating April 9th through the 15th as Public Safety Telecommunications Week 2023. Whereas dedicated public safety communicators serve our community by answering requests for law enforcement, fire, or emergency medical services, and public safety communicators answer calls 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days per year, and are the first link between members of our community and emergency responders. Whereas 911 dispatchers provide a compassionate ear to callers and project a sense of calm in order to ease those in distress, while also sending whatever assistance the situation warrants. And additionally, 911 dispatchers provide an invaluable lifeline to our emergency responders in the field by monitoring their activities by radio and providing them with essential information in order to both keep them safe and aid them in performing their duties. And the crucial daily role that public safety communicators play is seldom recognized, and the Schenectady County Unified Communications Center, UCC, serves our community as a centralized emergency and public safety dispatch center and works around the clock to ensure the safety of all county residents. And whereas last year in 2022, the Schenectady County UCC handled a total of 291,503 phone calls in and out of the center, and dispatched 248,981 calls for service. Now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the Schenectady County Legislature, we hereby celebrate April 9th to the 15th as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week 2023. And both recognize and thank the dedicated staff at the Schenectady County Unified Communications Center for all that they do and everything that they sacrifice to serve the residents of Schenectady County.
Thank you, sir. We also have another resolution proclaiming April 2023 as Autism Action Month in Schenectady County. This time I'd like to recognize Legislator Pratt to read that resolution.
Thank you. So as most of you know, I have my sister on the autism spectrum. This is something very near and dear to my heart and to so many members of our community. So it's my honor to read this into the record tonight. A resolution proclaiming April 2023 as Autism Action Month. Whereas the prevalence of autism in the United States has risen from 1 in 150 children in the year 2000 to 1 in 36 children in 2023, highlighting the urgent need for action. and whereas people of all abilities deserve to fully participate in their communities and live fulfilling lives of dignity and respect, including those who are living with the most significant disabilities. And whereas April has widely been known as Autism Awareness Month in the United States in an effort to educate the public, foster understanding and inclusivity, and shine a light on the systemic barriers people with autism face in their daily lives. And whereas we celebrate differences and promote the acceptance of people with autism, emphasizing that individuals with autism and their families deserve the opportunity to thrive. And whereas it is crucial that our work doesn't stop at awareness and acceptance, we recognize the need to advance policies that better provide services and supports for early intervention, education, transition to adulthood, employment, and community living. And whereas the Schenectady County Legislature honors those with autism and their families and recognizes the need to be aware of, accept, and appreciate the incredible diversity within the autism spectrum, now therefore be it resolved that the Schenectady County Legislature proclaims April 2023 as Autism Action Month to help spread further awareness of the realities of autism, promote acceptance in our community, and ignite change to ensure that the universal human rights of all autistic people are respected. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. This time I'd like to ask County Manager Rory Fluman to join me in the well for a presentation as part of our long-term county employee recognition program.
This is a bit of a unique presentation because, once again, we're honoring employees here at the Schenectady County. Come right up. Of course, you have before us Bob Carney, who technically in the world is an employee, even though he's certainly independently elected. So we're so appreciative of him coming tonight. We'll do Bob first. Bob's been our attorney for 33 years. This is your 33 year. And anybody that has watched crime and prosecution over the years in Schenectady realize that Bob has been central to anything that's been important. His years of service to this community, not only helping and protecting police departments, making sure that those that are arrested and accused are followed through and seen through the full extent of the law. So much so that outside agencies, states recognize him as a professional. How many times over the 30 years has our office been chosen in special prosecution in other counties? Just in my time, it's been recently Rensselaer County, Broome County. I'm sure there are many others. So I cannot tell you how fortunate we are to have this institutional experience in Bob Carney. I hope that he stays for another long period of time, but I'm sure he has an opinion. So this is a very small gesture of thanks, sir. Thank you very much.
I mean, I really didn't do anything but get elected a bunch of times. It's not like I did such a great job that my boss kept me on. But thank you for this.
Bosses do keep you.
Well, yeah, I mean, but and I want to just say thank you to all you, the legislators that came to our open house at the CAC just before this meeting. I think it was really a good experience for you to see it and see what they do down there, and they're doing a fabulous job. So thank you for this recognition.
I'm glad you said that, because certainly when I need Bob, the first thing I do is I call Denise. This is Denise Haley, but you, sir, have one more day of tenure on her. Technically, she started one day after you, so if that is ever an issue, you remind her of that. But Denise, in all seriousness, is literally the one that runs the office. She's the ground person that is checking time cards, making sure lawyers are where they're supposed to be, making sure court appointments are where they're supposed to be. So she's the primary interaction between the state court system with my office, certainly getting to know her through years of budget and budget negotiations. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and thank you, Denise, thank you. We had two other folks from the district attorney's office. Dean Riggy with 34 years of service. He couldn't be here tonight because he's actually in court tonight. And also Glenville Town Court. And Jennifer Assini, 31 years. Very impressive.
She is refereeing the girls across.
So thank you.
Before we begin our regular meeting this evening, we have one quick housekeeping item to attend to. We are going to convene in our role as members of the Schenectady County Tourism and Convention Bureau to consider resolutions pertaining to that body. Would the clerk please read the notice of special meeting of the Schenectady County Tourism and Convention Bureau?
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 4.03 of the bylaws of the Schenectady County Tourism and Convention Bureau, there will be a special meeting of the members of the Schenectady County Tourism and Convention Bureau, Inc., at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, April 11th, 2023, in the chamber of the Schenectady County Legislature, 620 State Street, Schenectady, New York, for the purpose of considering a resolution making appointments to the Schenectady County Tourism and Convention Bureau Board of Directors and changes to the organization's bylaws.
Thank you. Would the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Present. Ms. Pratt?
Present.
Mr. McGill?
Present.
Mr. Constantine?
Here.
Ms. Gatta? Here. Mr. Ferzoni?
Here.
Mr. Como?
Here.
Mr. Paterni?
Present.
Ms. Osterlich?
Here.
Ms. Villano?
Here.
Mr. Hess?
Here.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski?
Present.
13 present, 2 excused.
Thank you. Our first item before us this evening is Resolution 23-01. The clerk will read.
A resolution amending the bylaws regarding the terms and qualifications of directors.
Thank you. Any discussion? Legislator Gatta.
Thank you, sir. So this resolution does a few things. The first one is changing one of the categories for our directors. We had one category that had a director being from a restaurant, and we had a second category of a director being from a catering company. So this simply combines the two, saying we need at least 2 directors from a restaurant, catering company, event venue, any non-hotel hospitality company, and making sure that they are headquartered in Schenectady County. The second thing it does is it puts our board of director member totals back to 17 members. We were at 17 when we first started. We upped it to 20. Now we'd like to go back to 17. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Aye. Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill?
Aye.
Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Ferzoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Villano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. That resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 23-02. The clerk will read.
A resolution appointing corporate directors.
Thank you. Any discussion? Legislator Gatta.
Thank you, sir. So we have 3 wonderful people interested in joining our board. First is Laura Permiano. She's from Rivers Casino. She'll be taking over a position that was left vacant there. Brooks Berrigan, fortunately, is back in our lives and wants to join our board again. She was on our board when we first started and is interested in coming back. And also Subhash Modarsa, who's from the Comfort Inn in Scotia, who's going to be our designee of a hotel containing not more than 100 rooms.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Aye. Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill?
Aye.
Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Ferzoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Villano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. That resolution is passed. And that concludes our business for the special meeting of the Schenectady County Tourism and Convention Bureau. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Thank you. The meeting of the Schenectady County Tourism and Convention Bureau is adjourned. And we'll now move to our legislative conference in the Rules Committee to be chaired by Legislator Hughes.
So I think initially, Mr. Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have to move the ceremonial resolutions to the agenda, and perhaps we can do that in its entirety. If anyone would like to make a motion on the ceremonials.
I make a motion that we move the ceremonial resolutions and all three of them to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That brings us to R22, which is a resolution awarding funds to various organizations pursuant to the 2023 County Initiative Program. Does anyone want to, from staff, want to discuss this, or are we going to do that in the regular session, or are you doing that?
Sure, I'd be happy to do it. So this is our SIP grants. So this is our annual dedication to arts and entertainment. I'm seeing some of our wonderful folks in the audience dedicated to children's art. This comes out of our hotel bed sales tax. There's a slice of it that we're allowed to initiate and give monies to groups that come and apply to us. We have a very systematic application process that's reviewed by legislature staff and volunteers and members from this legislature. So all these applications were reviewed. These are grants ranging from $200 to $4,000 to make sure that fireworks happen in Scotia or music happens in Rotterdam, all across the county. And at this point, once that list is collaborated and getting to this point, which is listed on in your rules packet, comes before this legislature for action to be moved upon so that we can get those funds out into the community for arts and entertainment purposes.
Members wish to comment? Otherwise, can I get a resolution?
Just want to thank the committee that meets to make these decisions. I know it can't be easy, and I love looking at this list. Every year, there's people that things that I've never even heard of. I love that new groups are becoming aware of the SIP program, and just very appreciative of the funding that comes personally for the Freedom Park Board that I'm on, and all the groups that are on here. So thank you to that board for making these decisions.
And I would just comment as someone who has been on that selection committee in the past but was not this year. It is a tough job, and we thank very much the volunteers that step up and go through these. It's a lot of applications to review and a fair amount of discussion, and the result is always excellent. So I think it is again this year.
Yeah, I'd like to just piggyback too as well. A lot of these events that I'm seeing on here, I attend, and I know many of us attend. So to be able to support these, to continue to support these types of programs and events is great. It's great for community building. It's great for our young people to be able to be together and socialize with each other, especially coming off of a couple of years where we weren't able to socialize with each other. So to continue to do this is awesome, and I look forward to being at many of these events. So thank you so much to the committee who make these decisions. As we said, it's definitely not easy. I can only imagine. So just thank you, and thank you for your continued dedication and support.
Can I get a motion to move this to the agenda?
So moved.
Have a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All in favor of moving this to the agenda?
Aye.
All right. We have, next item is R23. This is a resolution which we discussed in depth at Economic Development and Planning last week, but it's back with some revisions, and I'm going to call on our county manager to explain those. This concerns the FlexPod hangar project at the Schenectady County Airport for our community college.
So in discussion last week about the FlexPod, we missed a couple very important pieces, the actual sewer and water hookup connection. After realizing that piece, because with help from Ray Gillen and Metroplex, we're having to go through a FAA process to make sure that we can get into the ground and dig. We're scheduled to start at the end of April. We realized that we truly didn't fully accommodate well for signage, lighting, and a couple parking spaces, something we were going to attend to in the 24 budget. But since I realized that we were going to come back and ask you to revise what you passed last week, it just made more sense to put it in now. So that on that April 24th date that we'd be ready to go with the full build, appropriate parking, signage, having that extra classroom space within one of the pods of the airport hangar.
Questions or comments from our members? Have a motion?
Move to report.
All in favor signify by saying aye. We have R24 as a resolution to authorize the county manager to enter into a lease agreement with Albany Ventures, Inc. for space for the office of the Schenectady County Public Defender. You're on.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is in lieu of what this body had passed during budget. There was a capital item for $2.5 million to fix the current public defender space. I believe, and our engineers believe, that number is a very low number, and it truly doesn't really future accommodate all the extra spaces that we keep getting state funding for. So it really became obvious that it was time to look for a new building space. The old Justice Center, 409 State Street, was available. It's from State Street to the back parking lot that shares with the YMCA and Metroplex. The idea would be it's much bigger, the kitchenette. The landlord is actually building us a bathroom, doing some fit up for us as soon as I have agreement from this legislature. So the idea is to not spend the $2.5 million, and that's a minimum price on the current building, and to move our public defenders down the street where they would also have garage access to park. So I know our public defenders are excited about that. Still reasonably close enough to our courthouse. And then, you know, the future of the old public defender building was something we bought in the 90s, so we do own that building. For the short term, we might use it for some flex space because we are still trying to go through this building and redoing office space and stuff. So, for example, when we go onto the 6th floor, you know, I might ask the county attorney to locate down there temporarily, or my office to locate down there temporarily. And once we get through all the fit-ups and, no, I would never ask the legislature. We're not touching this room. But the idea would be most likely we would probably put that building out onto the auction list.
Can I have a resolution?
Move
or a
to
motion?
report. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the last item in rules tonight is R25, and this is a resolution to encourage the governor and the state legislature to authorize a real property tax exemption for auxiliary police officers. You will recall that we took action on this with respect to volunteer firefighters. And Schenectady County is very fortunate to have an auxiliary police force. We're actually one of the few counties in the state that has such an entity. They are extremely helpful for us in terms of crowd control at events and at other activities. And fairness seemed to dictate to us, to this body, that if we were doing this for volunteer firefighters, we certainly should call upon the state in cases where there is an auxiliary police department to extend this benefit to those officers as well. I think I explained that. So having done that, I'll ask for questions and then ask for a resolution to move it to the agenda. Any questions? Second?
Second.
You were. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Item is moved and the Rules Committee is adjourned.
Thank you, Legislator Hughes. It's now time to open for privilege of the floor. Any members of the public who are present this evening who wish to address us during privilege of the floor, we ask you to come to the microphone and give us your name and address for the record, and try to keep your comments somewhat brief. If anyone wishes to speak during privilege of the floor.
I already did last year. Well, you guys did the work last year, so just, if you don't want to take them all, that's fine, I'll take them back, but thank you for the SIP grants you awarded tonight to 36 nonprofits. Is that a record? I think it is. I remember 30, I remember 32, but 36 nonprofits, thank you. And these put on programs for free to the public, and I think there's a very, very nominal fee for one or two of them, but I will speak to. Jazz on J will begin June 1st with a jazz combo from the Empire State Youth Orchestra. Continue every Thursday until a big finale on August 31st. We'll announce the full series soon. These free outdoor lunchtime concerts will be on J Street if it's sunny, or inside Proctor's, Robb Alley, or GE Theater in case of rain or extreme heat that will harm instruments. Kathy can talk about that, its basses can't handle extreme heat. The annual Kids Arts Fest will be June 3rd. I'm emphasizing the B for one little sub-theme we've got for our 29th year. It's mindfulness. The city school district, people we work with on our planning committee, they're trying to really work on mindfulness and that be here now approach, to focus on the present and not worry about the past or the future. So there will be a scavenger hunt for how many different be things you can do. We've already got 50 activities for kids of all ages, and our poster contest will promote Summer Night this year, the Capital Region's biggest summer block party in July. Of course, the tried and true will be there, but we've got a dozen new artists and performers. So if you're around on June 3rd, we'd love to have you there from noon to 4 p.m. And your support truly, truly helps us soar as the feathers signify. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Susan Biggs, Quaker Street, New York. In December of 2019, I came to you and I spoke to you about principles of integrity, honesty, transparency, and morality. And now we are facing my grave concerns about the Duanesburg Planning Board approval of the Oak Hill solar projects, which share a 2,500-foot property line with my family's 1850 residence, which my great-grandfather purchased in the Civil War. Since then, the Oak Hill Solar's impact upon myself and my community has only become worse. A condition of the project's permit approval was the demolition of a dilapidated 1880s house located on the project site. On March 8, 2020, the structure exploded. With such a force, it left a hole in the ground. More than 3 volunteer fire departments responded to the emergency. Route 7 was closed for 4 hours. The arson report was inconclusive, yet there was no media coverage. The June 21 Oak Hill Solar New York State Department of Transportation driveway permit application for the access road to the project shows that the required site distance is 820 feet, but only 450 feet is provided to the east. During the planning board review, neighbors spoke of how dangerous it is to pull out of or get into the access road from Route 7. In October 22, there was a serious accident involving the motor vehicles at the project's access road. A watchful neighbor says it was caused by a tractor trailer hauling a crane that turned west onto Route 7 from the project's access road. Eyewitnesses driving behind the motor vehicles that were involved in the accident say 2 SUVs were in the ditch on the sides of the road. Freedom of information requests to the state police has not provided any report of the accident. Since July 2019, my daughter and I have attended town board meetings to ask questions and request that the project comply with local, state, and national law. We ask that code enforcement require the project to comply with the approved site plan. More often than not, the town board and planning board do not even reply. Here we are 4 years later. I'm still alive at 87. and attending meetings. Again, I ask each one of you to uphold your town, county, state, and federal laws. Follow your moral compass, and most of all, do not do what Duanesburg has done. Don't approve a site plan that does not provide the neighbors' homes, does not provide a 7-foot-tall fence to meet National Electric Code, is not drawn to scale, and does not provide the engineer's seal and signature. Failing to comply with the law snowballs into greater problems during the project's construction and may become a liability for the town and our county taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. I'm her daughter, Lynn Bruning, also Quaker Street, and I handed out a color image with some notes about Oak Hill Solar. That photo was taken 2 days ago. And I'm going to give you a little brief history because there's a lot of new faces here. So it was in September of 2019 that the Duanesburg Planning Board approved the project special use permit. In October of 2019, NYSERDA awarded the project more than $7.5 million in incentives. This included $4,500,000 for battery energy storage, of which correspondence between NYSERDA and the developer states, and I quote, "Battery storage is not shown on the site plan." November 2019, the project was sold to AMP Solar Group in Toronto, Canada. And July 2021, AMP applied for an amendment to the special use permit to include 4 53-feet containers of lithium-ion battery storage, double the amount of the access road, and to increase the site disturbance from less than 1 acre to 69 acres. At that time, they also increased the height of the solar panels from 7.5 feet to 15 feet. The amendment was approved without any changes in March of 2022. April of 2022, construction began. The access road was not built to the site plan, which stated it was 10 feet wide. The access road is constructed as 20 feet wide. You need to be able to get 2 semis to pass each other, right? Makes sense. Why it wasn't on the site plan to begin with, we don't know, but it does impact the stormwater plan. It impacts the neighbors and what happens. It impacts the decommissioning because now you have double the amount of gravel, double the amount of road of which would have to be removed. More trees were removed from the project site, even though they were outside of the limits of disturbance, and the project drilled post holes. The approved plan stated that the post holes would be pounded. So the approved plan in 2019 and in 2022, the posts were to be pounded. What the contractor ended up doing and what the town designated engineer reported is that they were drilling holes, sucking water out of the holes, then inserting posts that are 8 inches by 2 3/4 inch channels, not an I-beam, a channel, like a metal stud for drywall. Those were inserted into the post holes and then backfilled with rock. The U.S. Department of Agriculture shows the soils map, indicates that this site is not suitable for soil-based solar array posts. Little tricky. But that's what the USDA calls for. But yet the town designated engineer and the inspectors were like, oh, go ahead. So at this time, it brings us to this photo. And as you can see, 11 rows, and these rows are 275 feet to 300 feet long. There are 11 rows that have fallen straight down to the ground, as if the posts have all just sunk into the earth. Panels are broken. They're lying on the ground. All of this happened in December. In the past week, I have found that yet another array is in process of collapsing, and you can see another row of solar panels is in process of collapsing, and you can see that other rows are beginning to get askew. It does not bode well. The town did not, through Freedom of Information and all the application documents, the town did not secure a construction performance bond. what's going to happen. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that my town planning board did this. And they didn't necessarily do it to me or the immediate neighbors. They did it to all of us. They have done it to all of the taxpayers in the town. But as you can also see at the bottom of this, the handout I gave you, I think the person that is most harmed with solar projects that are not enforced and do not comply with the law is that it is the landowner that ends up with the problem. The landowner has more than $1.4 million in mechanic liens against her property. She can't sell it, she can't use it, and she's got debt. So when you go back to your towns and you look at their laws, you need to stop and really think about what are we doing long term? Who are we benefiting? Because as far as I can tell, the only entity that has benefited out of Oak Hill Solar at this time is Schenectady County Clerk, who recorded more than $370,000 in mortgage tax fees when the developer, AMP, obtained a mortgage on this project before it even received approval for their amendment. This is all backwards. And to add into this, in February, the project was sold to a private equity firm in Australia. They have more money, more attorneys than Dwaynesburg, than the property owner. They're going to win, and they're going to get their money out of it. So please, look at Dwaynesburg. Don't do what they did. Go back to your own towns, write better laws. Protect yourselves, protect your neighbors, protect us. And thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment? Anyone else wishing to comment during privilege of the floor? Anyone else wishing to comment during privilege of the floor? Seeing none, privilege of the floor is now closed. And thank you for your comments. And I can now call to order the April meeting of the Schenectady County Legislature. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Present. Ms. Pratt?
Present.
Mr. McGill?
Present.
Mr. Constantine?
Here.
Ms. Gatta?
Here.
Mr. Frisoni?
Here.
Mr. Cuomo?
Here.
Mr. Paterni?
Present.
Ms. Osterlich?
Here.
Ms. Villano?
Here.
Mr. Hess?
Here.
Mr. Hughes? Present. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski?
Present.
13 present, 2 excused.
Thank you. Members received copies of the minutes from the meeting held on March 16th. Is there a motion to adopt the minutes? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Minutes are hereby adopted. Clerk will read the list of reports received.
We have received reports from the Commissioner of Finance, the Department of Weights and Measures, and the County Clerk.
Thank you. Committee reports. Legislator Frisoni with the reports from the Committee on Codes, Judiciary, and Consumer Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Codes, Judiciary, and Consumer Affairs met on April 3rd, 2023, and reported to the agenda resolutions 59, 60, 61, and 62.
Thank you, sir. Legislator Hughes, reports from the Committee on Economic Development and Planning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Economic Development and Planning met on April 3rd, 2023, and reported to the agenda resolutions 63, 64, 65, 66, and 67.
Thank you. Legislator Pratt, reports from the Committee on Education and Libraries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Education and Libraries met on April 3rd, 2023, and reported to the agenda resolutions 68 and 69.
Thank you. Legislator Osterlich with reports from the Committee on Health, Housing, and Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Health, Housing, and Human Services met on April 3rd, 2023, and reported to the agenda resolution 70.
Thank you. Legislator Paterni, reports from the Committee on Public Facilities, Transportation, and Infrastructure.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. The Committee on Public Facilities, Transportation, and Infrastructure met on April 3rd, 2023, and reported to the agenda resolutions 71, 72, 73, 74, and 75.
Thank you. Legislator Constantine, reports from the Committee on Public Safety and Firefighting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Public Safety and Firefighting met on April 3rd, 2023, and reported to the agenda resolution 76.
Thank you. Legislator Hughes, reports from the Committee on Rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Committee on Rules met earlier this evening and reported to the agenda resolutions 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, and 58.
Thank you. And if you would, sir, the Committee on Ways and Means.
Yes, sir. The Committee on Ways and Means met on April 3rd and reported to the agenda resolutions 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, and 77.
Thank you, sir. There are several ceremonial resolutions on the agenda this evening. There are resolutions 52, 53, and 54. I'll open the floor for the discussion of these resolutions. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk will call the roll call on ceremonial resolutions 52, 53, and 54. Members may note any resolution on which they wish to be recorded in the negative.
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gata.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valana.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolutions are passed. Our next item is Resolution 55-23. Sponsors the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
Resolution awarding funds to various organizations pursuant to the 2023 County Initiative Program.
Any discussion? Seeing no, the clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Aye. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Aye. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gata.
I need to abstain from this.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Aye.
11 aye, 1 is abstain, 2 excused. I'm sorry. 12 aye, 2 excused, 1 abstain.
Very good. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 56-23. Sponsors the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution approving capital budget amendments for improvements to the FlexPod hangar project at the Schenectady County Airport.
Any discussion? Seeing no, the clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Aye. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Aye. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gata.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 57-23. Sponsors the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution to authorize the county manager to enter into a lease agreement with Albany Ventures, Inc. for space for the office of the Schenectady County Public Defender.
Any discussion? Seeing no, the clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gata.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 58-23. Sponsors the Committee on Rules. The clerk will read.
A resolution to encourage the governor and the state legislature to authorize a real property tax exemption for auxiliary police officers.
Any discussion? Seeing no, the clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gata.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Before I vote, I just want to point out that Schenectady County is only one of 2 counties in the state that have a volunteer auxiliary police force available to assist the law enforcement agencies in Schenectady County. When the state passed their legislation, they included volunteer fire departments and EMS agencies, but didn't really include Schenectady County's auxiliary police officers. What we're asking them to do is revisit it and just tweak that a little bit to add them in because we are kind of unique. I vote aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 59-23. Sponsor is Legislator Frisoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding the acceptance of monies from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for the support of certain criminal investigative initiatives.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo.
Aye.
Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Villano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 60-23. Sponsor is Legislator Frisoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution establishing the rates of compensation for election workers employed by the Schenectady County Board of Elections.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo.
Yes.
Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Villano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 61-23. Sponsor is Legislator Frisoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution regarding the acceptance of monies from the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services for the funding of indigent legal defense services.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Villano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 62-23. Sponsor is Legislator Frisoni. The clerk will read.
A resolution to create certain positions at the office of the Schenectady County District Attorney.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Villano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 63-23. Sponsor is Legislator Hughes. The clerk will read.
A resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the federal aid and state Marcaselli program and eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds therefore.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Villano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Next item is Resolution 64-23. Sponsor is Legislator Hughes. The clerk will read.
A resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the federal aid and state Marcaselli program and eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds therefore.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich.
Yes.
Ms. Villano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 65-23. Sponsors Legislator Hughes. The clerk will read.
A resolution authorizing the county manager to enter into a memorandum of agreement and an easement agreement for the construction of a gateway mobility hub in the city of Schenectady.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frisoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 66-23. Sponsors Legislator Hughes. The clerk will read.
A resolution authorizing the county manager to enter into payment in lieu of taxes agreements with developers or owners of qualifying alternative energy systems.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 67-23. Sponsors Legislator Hughes. The clerk will read.
A resolution creating and eliminating certain positions at the Department of Economic Development and Planning.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 68-23. Sponsors Legislator Pratt. The clerk will read.
A resolution approving capital budget amendments for equipment purchases at the Schenectady County Public Library.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 69-23. Sponsors Legislator Pratt. The clerk will read.
A resolution creating and eliminating certain positions at the Schenectady County Public Library.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 70-23. Sponsors Legislator Osterlich. The clerk will read.
A resolution accepting monies from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention regarding funding for initiatives in response to COVID-19.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 71-23. Sponsors Legislator Paterni. The clerk will read.
A resolution approving capital budget amendments for improvements to the Schenectady County Correctional Facility.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 72-23. Sponsors Legislator Paterni. The clerk will read.
Resolution approving capital budget amendments for interior improvements at the Karen B. Johnson Branch Library Building.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo? Ms. Pratt?
Aye.
Mr. McGill? Mr. Constantine?
Yes.
Ms. Gatta?
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni?
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Mr. Paterni?
Aye.
Ms. Osterlich?
Yes.
Ms. Valano?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Hughes? Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jazinski?
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 73-23. Sponsor is Legislative Attorney. The clerk will read.
Resolution approving capital budget amendments for environmental remediation of certain county-owned real property.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 74-23. Sponsor is Legislative Attorney. The clerk will read.
Resolution approving capital budget amendments for the purchase of various vehicles by the Department of Public Works.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 75-23. Sponsor is Legislative Attorney. The clerk will read.
Resolution approving capital budget amendments for the purchase of a truck by the Department of Public Works.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 76-23. Sponsor is Legislator Constantine. The clerk will read.
A resolution to accept monies from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services for purposes outlined in the statewide interoperable communications targeted grant program.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill. Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. Our next item is Resolution 77-23. Sponsor is Legislator Fields. The clerk will read.
A resolution correcting clerical errors on the municipal tax roll of Duanesburg.
Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fields is excused. Mr. Russo. Ms. Pratt.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Mr. Constantine.
Yes.
Ms. Gatta.
Yes.
Mr. Frazzoni.
Yes.
Mr. Cuomo.
Yes.
Mr. Paterni.
Aye.
Ms. Ostrowich.
Yes.
Ms. Valano.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes. Mr. McDonald is excused. Mr. Jasinski.
Aye.
13 aye, 2 excused.
Thank you. The resolution is passed. And while that concludes our business for this regular meeting, how about we give our Deputy Clerk of the Legislature a round of applause for jumping in and successfully getting us through the agenda. And is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye. Those opposed, nay.
Aye.
Legislature stands adjourned. Thank you all.